A few days ago, the Indo-Japan Agreement on Cooperation regarding the peaceful uses of nuclear energy came into force. The agreement was signed 8 months ago, though it had been in discussion between the two countries for 6 years. It is a landmark civil nuclear agreement under which Japan will supply nuclear reactors, fuel, and technology to India. It is important to note that India is not a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and hence it became the only non-signatory that received an exemption from Japan. India and Japan are two democracies which have engaged for centuries with each other. The bond between the two countries is deeply rooted in their cultural and spiritual ties. The belief in individual freedom and democracy has made the association between them even more fruitful and productive. The earliest documented direct contact between India and Japan happened in the 8th century, when the eye-opening of the statue of Buddha in Todaiji Temple was performed by an Indian monk, Bodhisena. Buddhism had a major impact on Japanese culture, as many scholars and monks started to travel between the two countries for various exchanges. The ancient university in Nalanda, located in the state of Bihar, was the place where many Japanese students came for their studies. In the traditional Japanese Buddhist pantheon, the Hindu deity Ma Sarasvati is known as Benzaiten, Brahma is known as Bonten, and Yama is known as Enma, just to name a few. Benzaiten, who is known as Ma Sarasvati in Vedic Hindu scriptures, is one of the 7 gods of fortune in Japan. Even in contemporary times, the association of India with Japan continued, as many famous Indian personalities like Rabindranath Tagore, J.R.D. Tata, Subhash Chandra Bose, Swami Vivekananda, and Radha Binod Pal continued their engagement with the Japanese in different ways. Under British colonial rule, India was against the Japanese army in the Second World War, but the deep ties between the two nations have a history of more than 1,000 years, and the two countries have frequently stood by each other at times of need and have enjoyed a unique relation with mutual respect. The Indian National Disaster Response Force was dispatched for rescue operations in Japan after the country was hit by a devastating earthquake and tsunami in 2011, which was later appreciated and acknowledged by the representatives from Onagawa town in 2016 during a festival. Radha Binod Pal may not be the most famous name in India, but in Japan he has monuments that are dedicated to him. Radha Binod Pal was an Indian jurist and a member of the United Nations International Law Commission. He was one of the Asian judges who got appointed to the International Military Tribunal for the Far East trials of Japanese war crimes committed during the Second World War. His judgment is remembered in Japan even today. You will be surprised to know that the oldest international friendship body in Japan is the Japan-India Association, which was established in 1903. In 1991, Japan was one of the very few countries that bailed India out of the balance of payment crisis. Japanese official development assistance has actively participated with the Indian government and has continuously engaged in economic development by providing loans for many infrastructural projects in the country. The Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, which is one of the world's largest infrastructure projects with an estimated investment of around $90 billion, has a positive Japanese involvement in it. Moreover, Western Dedicated Freight Corridor, Chennai-Bengaluru Industrial Corridor are 2 more names that are destined to transform India once they are properly executed. And not only that, Delhi Metro Network is destined to be one of the largest metro networks of the world. After the completion of Phase 4, it will be a massive 434 kilometers infrastructure with 308 stations, with an estimated daily ridership of more than 6 million. And perhaps this will expand even further. Delhi Metro project is yet another example of a successful engagement between India and Japan. Both countries have also signed an agreement in December 2015 to build a bullet train between Ahmedabad and Mumbai, which will be based on Shinkansen technology. The bilateral trade between the two countries is expected to rise, and it is estimated to reach around $50 billion by 2020. The main exports by India to Japan are petroleum products, chemicals, clothing, ores, scrap textile yarn, fabrics, non-metallic mineralware, fish and fish preparations, machinery, iron and steel products. Japanese FDI has mainly been in electrical equipment, telecommunications, chemical sectors, pharma sectors, and automobile. The two sides are determined to cooperate in space, agriculture, earth science, transport, and urban development. Japan has been a participant in the Malabar naval exercise as well. Both countries are keen to maintain the security of sea lanes in the Asia-Pacific and Indian Ocean. In 1985, the two countries signed the Science and Technology Cooperation Agreement, which later gained more strength, as in 1993 the India-Japan Science Council was established. However, a successful Indian nuclear weapon test in 1998 resulted in a brief overall slowdown for 3 years due to the sanctions that were imposed by the Japanese. Apart from Sony, which is a world-famous Japanese brand, Japanese car makers also have a strong presence in India. Toyota and Honda are pretty well known to Indians, and one can so easily notice the logo of Maruti Suzuki on many cars. In the economic history of independent India, the investment by Suzuki Motor Corporation in the early 1980s is known as a monumental development, as it brought a much-needed revolution in the Indian automobile sector. The dramatic transformation in bilateral ties of two nations came in the beginning of the 21st century, when the former Prime Minister of Japan, Yoshiro Mori, visited India in the year 2000, and it was followed by many bilateral exchanges between the two countries at a political level, a trend that eventually made the two countries upgrade their relationship to a special strategic and global partnership. For many, the economic and commercial cooperation between India and Japan is very natural and obvious. India has a big young population. Over 50% of Indians have an age that is below 25 years, and on the other hand, Japan has an aging population. Japan is known for its sophistication in manufacturing, and India is renowned for its services. And it's not just India's massive human resources. India's emerging middle class and consumer market is a perfect investment destination for Japan's surplus capital. There is a vibrant Indian diaspora in Japan as well. The population of NRIs and PIOs is around 29,000. Earlier, the Indian community in Japan was mostly focused on businesses that were related to commodities, electronics, textiles, and sectors like gems and jewelry were added later. Today, there are lots of Indian IT professionals and engineers who are working for Japanese and Indian companies. The Nishikasai area in Tokyo is very much a mini India within Japan. Apart from IT, Indians can also be seen in various other sectors like finance, education, management, and SMT research. The cultural ties between the two nations continue to flourish, as in 2009, the Vivekananda Cultural Center in Tokyo was inaugurated, which offers classes on yoga, Indian languages like Bengali and Hindi, ancient Indian dances like Bharatnatyam, Odissi, Sambalpuri, and even Bollywood dances. Apart from Bollywood movies, Tamil movies are also very popular in Japan, and the Indian movie star Rajnikant is a well-known face among the movie lovers. Today, India and Japan have a multi-dimensional partnership that is positively touching and transforming lives of millions of people in their countries, presenting a fine example to other countries in the neighborhood that may also benefit a lot